This is a patient who came in to be admitted to the hospital for IV antibiotics for pneumonia. Patient had a history of COPD, cough, and the PCP felt based on X-ray that this was a pneumonia and needed to be treated with both IV fluids and antibiotics. The provider does both a cardiac ultrasound and IVC ultrasound, which clinches the diagnosis. First, this is the parasternal long view. It's a little grainy, but this is your left atrium, your left ventricle, your aortic outflow tract. This is the right ventricle here. You can see that the valve is not even coming close to the septum, and that this heart is barely squeezing. This is consistent with CHF. The provider then moves to the IVC, and you can tell that this IVC is not only plump, but it is not moving with respirations. Because of that, the provider knows that this isn't pneumonia, but rather this is CHF. And instead of giving IV fluids and IV antibiotics, the patient needed Lasix, and he responded quite well. This is a 88-year-old patient who comes in with the history of coronary disease and cardiomyopathy, who came in shortness of breath, questioned CHF versus pneumonia. And here you can see that the ultrasound illustrates in a cardiac output and an ejection fraction that is quite hyperdynamic. This valve is hitting the septum, and though the images are grainy, the walls are coming together to the point where this person has a pretty good ejection fraction. This is another view here. Again, the walls are hitting the valves, and it seems like the ejection fraction is almost 80 to 90%. I don't care about the exact numbers, but I want you to understand that it's definitely preserved. An IVC ultrasound was then done, and not only is it thin, but it's also collapsing completely. So this is a patient with cardiomyopathy that if you had an 88-year-old with this history, you'd be scared to give IV fluids. Seeing both this echo and this IVC, you can give this patient 2 liters and not be concerned whatsoever. This patient got 3 liters of crystalloid, lactate cleared, and no longer needed ICU level of care.